Your eyes up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burnin' Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. That is wild. That is a wild deal. But glad to have you on the show. We've had you requested a couple of times, and yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes.
Well, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it. I mean, it's pretty new to me to start getting interviewed and stuff like that from people. So I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, yeah, it's like we were talking before. I'm pretty sure that I'd followed you, and I think I saw you and your husband at Elko, and we were talking about. She's got a very distinctive turquoise hat band and bound edge hat. And I recognized that, and I told my wife, I said, I'm pretty sure I follow her on Instagram. And it's funny, is we're in Elko, Nevada at the Cowboy Poetry Gathering, outside circle show, which is kind of like almost a protest against the Cowboy Poetry Gathering and how commercialized it's become. And I was like, I think I know that chick from Instagram, and it's just wild how this world that we live in and like that we occupy, our little segment of the world, has it still succumbed to the digital age, and I don't think necessarily for the bad. I think there's a lot of bad that comes of it, but I think there's a ton of good stuff that comes out of social media, and your channel being one where like, and I don't follow it real closely, but like I know you talk a lot about like the California vaquero style horsemanship, a lot about the spade bits and just kind of Buckaroo culture in general, and you're like we were saying earlier, like you have 180 some thousand followers on TikTok, and that's insane. And from the stuff that I've seen you put out, like you're well researched, you're well read on the subject, and you also obviously live and use horses and train horses. So I mean, that's really cool that somebody that's, from what I can tell, is pretty authentic into this way of life that we've chosen to live, and that many people tuning into it. So that's pretty dang cool.
Well, and one thing I like to tell a lot of people too is I wasn't born and raised on a ranch or anything like that. My parents we lived outside of Spokane, Washington. They owned a janitorial supply business, and the closest thing to a horse growing up until I finally got my first horse was a German Shepherd. And I wasn't born and raised in the culture. And so like when you say choose this lifestyle, I mean, my husband and I, neither of us grew up in the Buckaroo or ranching or anything like that. And we really had to choose this it wasn't just like, am I going to continue on with the family business or on the ranch? It was, we really had to work our way into it and stuff like that. And and once I got into it, like I knew that this was the life for me. Like there's no other way of living. I mean, not even close.
Yeah, I agree. I grew up a little bit more into it, but I still kind of I wasn't on a horse when I was 3. I think I was 10 before I ever got on a horse. But that being said, my second time on a horse was a 20-mile ride through canyon country, and it if I had a choice right then, I would have never gone on a horse ever again. After that, I was so damn sore,
That's a
and
rough.
yeah, and all through high school, like especially riding colts and stuff. I kind of hated it because I had to do it. Like it was forced upon me. And then I went off to college, and I always kind of maintained the, the ranch type roots. But I went off and like I did construction for a little while. I poisoned prairie dogs for summer, just a college job. But every time I'd go back home to visit, which wasn't often, and it was usually just for a weekend, but I'd get thrown on a colt, and then all of a sudden I was like, man, this is kind of fun. I kind of miss just getting on something that, like no matter how much groundwork you do, like that first time you swing a leg over it, you're just not real sure what's gonna
Yeah.
happen. Like you got a pretty good idea, but there's no guarantee, and
No.
and it's just kind of like it's a big crescendo right up to that point, and you're just like, I don't know. There's like that real brief moment where it's like everything is silent, still, and then just like boom, then it's game on. And sometimes nothing happens, but other times it's like, no, it's game on. and,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't know. There's something about that. It kind of drug me back in. It was just that missing that point. Because even though I hated it all through high school, like there was always that little moment. Like even if I didn't want to be there, just like right as your ass hits the saddle, it's like boom, real quiet, and then just boom, game on. And I don't know. There's something about that's kind of cool, and I've got to appreciate the groundwork and stuff that that little silence gets a little bit longer. The more and more work you do sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty cool, and I don't know. I think it's neat to even though you may not have grown up into it, like when uh, this little, and you get a chance to like kind of present it to the world. Yeah, it's kind of it's almost a big responsibility because we're it's kind of a finicky bunch of people that choose this deal, and they're also kind of a proud type of people, and they're pretty quick to bark at you when you get something wrong. So
Oh yeah.
I yeah. So anyhow, so how did you how did you kind of grow that following? Like what were you talking about? What kind of content were you putting out?
The first couple months that I had TikTok, I was just posting dinky little videos and stuff like that, just riding around and stuff. And then finally I polished my spade bit, just as Buckaroos do, polish their silver. It's something they're really good at. But and posted a video of it. And there was a ton of people on there. Like my entire comment section was filled with people saying that was a medieval torture device. And that people were threatening me, saying,
oh yeah,
all of that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to start doing some educational stuff on this. And, I don't know a whole lot, because I haven't been in this my entire life. I just like to share what I do know, and that the basics basically of making a spade bit horse and the process and what the mechanics of the bit are and everything like that. Cause so I got into explaining stuff like that, the process of making a spade bit horse, and my followers started growing a little bit more. And then when I started posting videos about me turning Mustangs into spade bit horses, people absolutely loved that. And showing them that they can be actual using horses as well. They may not ever be super fancy or anything like that, but they can be really good using horses. And then, of course, my cow pugs, they kind of blew it up a little bit when I started posting videos of them chasing goats and cows and herding and stuff like that. And then after I kind of started doing stuff like that and doing educational videos on spade bits, people started asking me for advice on training, since they figured, okay, well, she can make a Mustang, an untouched Mustang, into a spade bit horse. She can help me with, basics of loading or horses that set back and stuff like that. So I actually started posting educational content. And then my following just absolutely blew up when I started posting what I do with my horses and my process, and different types of things to do with different types of horses. And a lot of people really appreciate that. I don't think, too many super handy people necessarily follow me, but I got a lot of people that are just striving for knowledge to better their horsemanship every day. And I'm very open and honest about, when someone asks something, I'm very open and honest about my reply. I don't try to bullshit them into letting them hear what they want to hear, but I tell them exactly what needs to be done. And, a lot of people really appreciate my raw, how raw I am with my answers, telling them, hey, if you got a horse that's aggressive, you need to put them in their place, and say, be like, oh no, well, maybe you need to back off like that. And,
kisses and carrots will cure it all.
Yeah. But I got enough respect with how I do stuff on TikTok that I got a variety of different types of people. I do got the people that do the positive reinforcement freak training following me on there. And then I also got, cowboys that, will snub a horse up and throw a saddle on and ride them out and go out and push cattle that day. And I feel like, even if some of my videos don't appease others, it can be educational to some people out there. And I think a lot of people really appreciate that they can learn even little things from me.
Yeah. I always think, honesty is always the best bet. That's one of the reasons why I've I don't have a huge following, but like the people that listen, I've got like a couple hundred people that have been like day one listeners, and they're like real quick to bark at me if I don't get an episode out or something on schedule, and it's but a lot of them are just like, sure enough, good hands, and like better hands than I'll ever be. But I've also I've never made myself out to be one. Like I can get by, and I can do a job with probably with the best of them. But like I'm not gonna go trying to cut a guy off to rope something when like I know he's way better than I am.
Yeah.
I'll try to catch heels, and I'm fine with that. But I like talking to people from everywhere. And it's really cool. One of the things about social media is that you see more hybrid type cowboys than I can ever remember growing up. And a ton of that is just to do with social media, just because you have Buckaroos from the Great Basin talking to like crackers down in Florida, and it's just. And now like you're seeing guys in Texas on a swell fork with a slick horn and like big bell stirrups, or and like I saw Mark Lundy dragging calves tied off, doctoring calves tied off the other day, and Mark Lundy was cow boss at the Wine Cup Gamble, and I mean he's as buckaroo as they come.
Yeah.
And it just and he's the type of guy that probably would have made his way down to Texas anyway, I think, from what I know of him. But I bet just having a bunch of guys talk at him on Facebook from Texas kind of made him not so reluctant to go ahead and try something like that. It's and that's been one of the really cool things I've seen through like my deal here is just seeing guys from all over, and then like seeing guys that I know probably weren't friends on Facebook, but like seeing them sharing posts back and forth, and I know they got to know each other through my show, and that's pretty dang cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty cool. I mean, social media does have a lot of bad things about it, but it does. I mean, I feel like the cowboy community, it has done quite a bit of good too. Just being able
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, I think so. And then like you take the groups on Facebook, like just the trading and the swapping and the selling and like benefits. I've seen so much money raised for guys that get banged up or whatever.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a kid that, whatever the case may be. I've seen a ton of money raised just through Facebook. For whatever reason, cowboy community loves Facebook, and
Yeah.
Facebook hates us. I don't know why we stick with them, but it's the groups mostly. I think it's
Yeah.
groups that's the only thing that keeps cowboys on Facebook. But I don't know. It's I think there's a lot of good. Of course, there's always some just bullshit about social media in general. It brings out
Yeah.
the worst of people.
Yeah.
But also, I think the pros far outweigh the cons, uh, and it's cool to see some of these people that like like yourself that like I don't know for for whatever reason like you got into it and developed a following, and I think that's cool, and there's a ton of people that like weren't really ever trying to be internet famous that all of a sudden, like Derek Mott, I guarantee you he wasn't trying to be internet famous, but all of a sudden like he's all over Facebook and TikTok
Yeah.
and it just it's cool seeing seeing stuff like that grow and expand, and like at some point like some of us might maybe make a little bit of money on the side, and that's good for the whole community.
Yeah.
And I don't know, so it's kind of crazy how it works, and it's at odds with cowboy culture in general because we're very traditional. Everything about what we do is tradition, and then then like Buckaroo is like cowboy tradition, but like on steroids. I mean, it's the you get into the Buckaroo stuff, and you're getting into some really fine details worth of tradition. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild. So you said you're from outside of Spokane. So what initially kind of got you into cowboying?
Well, where I was at from out of Spokane, I was an hour out of Spokane in the agricultural community in a small town called Usk. And we were good friends with some local ranchers around there. We all were really good friends, went down to their place all the time. But a majority of that community, everything's run from, they have, 1,000 head of cows, but everything's worked with four-wheelers. They'll have a couple.
Okay.
They'll have a couple horses, but these horses have never pushed a cow a day in their life, and they're born and die on the ranch. And it's something that ever since I was a kid, I was always like, you know what? Why don't we work stuff horseback? Wouldn't that be like a lot cooler kind of thing?
Yeah.
In my mind, I was just like, that'd be way more fun than running around on a four-wheeler. And I got into training horses and stuff like that when I was older. But when I really got into cowboying is when I met my husband. And we actually met when him and I were working at a sawmill together. And he told me he was a cowboy. And when someone says they're a cowboy in that area, they're like team ropers and bull riders and bronc riders. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably no cowboy. Like, doubt it. And I invited him to go riding with me one day, and he pulled out his saddle, a slick fork saddle with a rope on it and taps. And I'm like, you know what? This guy's a cowboy. And yeah, when him and I got married, that's when I got into it. And it's something that I always wanted to do, but I felt like I never really had the resources or knowledge to get into it. But marrying someone that did have the experience of working cattle horseback and everything like that, and doing all that, you know, when he gets hired on, they kind of don't really have an option but to take the wife. So
Yeah.
that's when I got into it full time, and absolutely fell in love with it. And immediately the place that we went to was, you know, going and managing a cow camp operation for 7 to 8 months out of the year, living out of a camper trailer with no electricity, running water. And my husband told me, he's like, well, you're going to find out really quick if you really want to be a cowboy doing this. And yeah, I fell in love with it. And I told him, I'm like, if we ever had to, where I had to go back and work at like a retail store or anything, everything that I did before for work, I'd never be able to do it. I'd go insane after doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how much you miss people until you go back to where people are, and you're just like, I don't miss them that much.
Yeah, no, I am perfectly fine being 2 hours out of town and going grocery shopping once a month.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like every now and then, I'm just like, man, I wish I'd like, it would be kind of cool to get to town and do something. And then you do it, and you're just like, I can't not wait to get out of town. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, and it's an every now and then thing that where I go do anything like that. But it's fun for a minute. But I'm always, yeah, like I like people from a distance.
Yeah. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm really social media, is I don't ever have to actually talk to them really that much in person. So
You know, it's funny. You were talking about some of the comments you get, and so there's a gal, Mackenzie Johnston, that does a cattle news update, and I post it on my feed, and she gets some really just bitchy comments usually from old men, and I you know, like I just try to make people laugh, and I like saying the stuff that you're not supposed to say, and all that, and I've said some pretty heinous shit at some point in time, just trying to make people laugh, and I don't get near the backlash that you ladies get. Like
oh god.
like it's wild to me, and you being in the horse world. And I proved it. I made a meme about Leah Thomas running barrels, or I tweeted, and it was, and I never got any pushback from any trans rights activists. And I used all the hashtags. I wanted it to be seen. I thought maybe, no, it was the barrel racers that got pissed off. and it's just funny. It's like who gets more triggered, like a far left wing activist or a barrel racer? And
the barrel racer.
It's the barrel racer. Yeah, by a long, and they get mean. They get really mean.
Get me.
Like that one, it kind of shocked me. So I don't know. It's wild what people get mad at on the internet. But horses is always I don't think it matters who is doing the talking, whether it be barrel racers or like crazy Mustang ladies or trainers or cowhands or just like animal rights activists. Like it's just a charged topic. It's about like talking about abortion, you know, at just in the, like, you just walk into a crowd of people and like, hey, let's talk about abortion. You might as well, I mean, that might as well be talking horses at all in any situation.
That's funny that you say that, because just the other day I posted a TikTok video doing a video reply to a lady. She was freaking out on one of the ladies I highly respect on TikTok, Amanda Ray. She does a lot of cult starting, and she makes a living training horses, and she does a damn fine job doing it. And she said that she would never own a thoroughbred. And there was a ton of people on there freaking out on her about the fact that she said that she would never own a thoroughbred, and just laying into her for the fact that she said that. And like, I got on there. There's this one lady that was harassing her and saying that just get over yourself and admit that we're right, said that. So I got on there, and, there's few people on TikTok that I'll back up once they get harassed enough. I'm like, you know what? You need to hear what's going on. Because Amanda can be a little nice at times, and I'm not always as nice as I should be. But, yeah, I told this lady, I'm like, you just need to grow the hell up. Like, people are allowed to have their opinion. She also said that she'd never own a Mustang. And I like Mustangs, just for using horses, but I'm not freaking out on her for that fact. And I made the comment that the horse industry needs to hold themselves to a higher standard, but that in itself is the problem because everyone believes that they are the highest standard.
Mm. Yeah, that's 100% right. And it's so funny how it's the best case for decentralization as there is. And just look at the cowboy or the horse world, and you look at, like, city folks may just think like, hey, the cowboy is a cowboy, and they might think that some guy driving a tractor in Iowa is a cowboy.
Yeah.
But when you actually break down, like, the actual working cowboy world, and then you get, well, I mean, there's the rodeo cowboy world, like there's the show horse cowboy world, and then there's the working cowboy world.
Yeah.
And then within each segment of that, it breaks down into a million different groups. And it's why the ranchers can't ever get anything done. Same way. It's like you have a million, or, I think we got 5,000 different ranchers, and every single one of them's working against all the other 4,999.
Yeah.
and it's like one thing, like, it's probably good that you have just quarter horse people and just thoroughbred people and just Mustang people, and, like, because, like, if they all try, if one from this world tries to tell one from this world what to do, I mean, it's like Russia and Ukraine all over again.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it's like, it's crazy how many different types of thinking there is, and I've got to where I respect a lot of them. I've seen a ton of bullshit over the years, and I've seen a lot of stuff that I like, and so I just kind of hold on to the stuff that I like, but I'll listen to just about everybody, and then at the end of the day, I've worked with enough different people from all over the freaking place that if it works, it works. I don't care. Like, can you get the job done? Like, if I'm hooked on one, can you pick up two? If so, then fuck, we're all right. Like, then we're good. I don't care. And I wish everybody kind of had a little bit more of that attitude, but there wouldn't be those cool rivalries between cowpunchers and buckaroos and flat hats versus tacos if we didn't have, like, the hardliners too. So it's I don't know, you got to have all of them, I guess. It's what makes the world go around.
It was funny. I was down in Texas a couple months ago, and went down with a couple of friends. First time I had ever been to Texas, and it was funny because the days that I wore just like this, my Wrangler jeans, my flat hat, button-up shirt, what I wear every day, I'd be walking down the streets in the stockyards, and I'd get people yelling at me to go home, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And I'm just like, like, it ain't worth fighting over to me. Like, you guys got your opinion, I got mine. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I don't get that. Like, I've never, like, I've given guys a lot of shit for what they're wearing, but, like, it's all in good fun. But, like, I've never yelled at somebody for like, that's dumb. People are dumb. I don't get it. But I know those guys, like, if they're like, I'll never rope with a guy that dallies on rubber. And they're like, or I'll never with Dally, or I'll never rope with a guy who packs 60 foot of rope. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen some really handy people that tie on. I've seen some really
Yeah.
really handy people that
Yeah.
dally on rubber, and I've seen some really really handy people that dally on a slick. And it just, like I said, at the end of the day, if you can get the job done, and then that's what I want.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've been training people in the feedlot and like, hey, can you heal this steer? Yeah, and then it turns into a wreck. And I was like, if you would have just told me no, I can't heal this steer, I would have either laid him down on my own or tried to help you through it. But
Yeah.
like that, I just want to know what you can do, and if you can get the job done, then that's all I need. I don't
Yeah.
that everything else is just style points or whatever. It's
Yeah.
aesthetics.
Exactly. And everybody's got their own personal preference. I mean, I've told people over and over again, for people that, are trying to bash on other people for riding in spade bits, or, riding with a 60-foot rope or whatever. It's like, some people like Chevys and some people like Fords,
Yeah,
and just the same thing. People are allowed to have a preference. If you don't want to rope with a 60-foot rope, then don't. I'm gonna,
yeah.
but
Well, I guarantee you, there's guys from Texas that have never dallied in their life, but if they had to
yeah,
go trail cattles off the mountain where it's 100-foot drop off the trail, that they got something that they're leading down there, they're not going to be tied hard,
yeah,
in case that old bitch decides to jump. Well, no, that's when you want a long rope and be able to let go of that damn thing. It's and for the same way, like for those guys down in Texas that are catching cattle in the mesquite brush, where you got one swing and a catch, and then you're crashing through the brush, and you're not going to hold a dally in your reins at the same time, so you better be tied hard. Like there's a reason why everybody does something, and what works down in South Texas doesn't always work up in Oregon. It just
right.
it's there's a reason for everything. But I like the rivalry, but I hate the purity tests that everybody
Yeah,
goes through. Like that's so dumb.
yeah, it is. I agree.
So like when you started riding, that you were riding in like the Buckaroo style, kind of from the get go, or what? How'd you
No,
come up in?
when I started riding, I was your typical 13-year-old horse girl. I mean, nothing fancy at all, just a grazing bit and a cheap synthetic saddle and, nylon tack.
Yeah, there you
uh,
go.
and yeah, I kind of discovered it on later on in life, and it kind of intrigued me once I got out of high school and stuff like that. Like, just seeing the style and everything, I was just like, that's absolutely amazing. And kind of started taking on when I started training outside horses myself. Started taking on, some of the, like, the Buck Brenneman and Ray Hunt style of training and stuff like that. But I never thought that I was ever going to make a spade bit horse in my entire life. I never thought that was, and I was actually kind of against spade bits, because I looked at them and I was just like, well, that's just a levered bit and it's a torture device. And it wasn't until later on in, kind of like my early 20s that my mind changed, when someone corrected me on it. And I decided, because usually when I get in debates with people, I want to do research. So I want to make sure my facts are straight so I can be right. And I found out I was very wrong. That's when I decided that, that was my goal. That's what I wanted to do. And then when I got into cowboying, I had the full opportunity to utilize all of that.
Well,
It wasn't something that I started from the get-go. you know, because like I said, where I was born and raised in northeastern Washington, like I even went back up there last year and put on a clinic for people. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm going to be talking about spade bits and advanced training and all sorts of stuff. And I go back up there for some of the people that are more advanced for that area. And I'm like, oh my God, like these people can't even load their horse in a trailer. They can't even properly lunge their horse. And it was just like going back to the area that I was from and seeing the people that, you know, that I was around growing up and seeing, you know, like I didn't realize how complacent I was in my knowledge, you know. I was just,
Yeah.
that'll do kind of thing. And, but yeah, I didn't start out in it or anything like that. It wasn't until my early 20s that I really dedicated myself to it. When I did that research, when I went to argue with someone and I figured out exactly what it was, I mean, I dedicated my training methods and everything I wanted, you know, that was my new obsession, was educating myself on the fact. And I did all sorts of internet research. I watched all sorts of YouTube videos, started friending people on Facebook that knew stuff about that, getting in those groups and asking questions. And what I really liked about it too is that there's very few people that tried to discourage me from, you know, furthering my knowledge and going forward with it. Everybody was always like, yeah, you need to pursue this. You need to keep going on. This is amazing. You will absolutely love it. They give me tips and all sorts of stuff. And that's what I really knew that it was for me, not just the training methods and the techniques, but the people, all the people in it were more than encouraging as well. Like everybody was excited to have another person that was excited to do this.
Well, that's awesome. I think there's a lot of people that didn't have that, you know, quite that reception when they wanted to get in the horse world. It's either people discouraging them to get out of it, or like, you know, especially like you get in the show world, like nobody wants to share anything, you know. It's as cutthroat as it get. I don't know. It's funny. Like the horse world's real finicky. But like if you can find a good spot, you know, it can be really, really good people.
Yeah. When I first got out of high school, I went and worked at a saddlebred stables, and I trained saddlebred horses to show English and saddle seat and all of that. And I kind of had an idea of what the show world was like, because I grew up showing 4-H, and that was really, I mean, I was amazed on how cutthroat those 4-H girls were. I mean, they would not help you to save your life when it came to try to better in your horsemanship and do better, because then you were competition. And then showing in the saddlebred world, it was the same way. Like you didn't talk to other people at other stables. I mean, the only other people that would really talk to you is the owners of the horses. They were, you know, they'd talk to stuff like that. But when it came to rival stables and stuff like that, I mean, they were cutthroat. You weren't friends with any other stable people. You weren't friends with any other trainers, because they were competition. And I was just like, this just isn't right. Like, I feel like this should be more of a community and not a rivalry.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always thought that about, well, the world in general.
Yeah.
but yeah, there's you know, like whether it's the horse world, and in particular, like not just your casual horse world, but like the people that actually depend on a horse. Like we have almost the smallest amount of say on what happens in the horse world, and but they're like everybody's all closed off, because like we're under attack from you know, from animal rights people, and the ranch people are the same way, and yeah, like there's a lot of stuff we could do to help each other if we just like calm down and like kind of get on the same page. But you don't even have to be so much on the same page, but like just stop fighting each other.
Yeah.
And no, because I don't know, it's like I mean, it's the you know, the age old Buckaroo versus cowpuncher deal. It just, at the end of the damn day, we're both trying to take a cow and help her raise a baby, and get that baby to market so we can, the owner can make some money and we can get paid. Like that's what we're trying to do. Everything else is just details.
Yeah.
And so like there's no need in fighting over details. Like just
Right.
like focus on the big picture here. Like we
That's like,
gotta. Oh, go ahead.
it's like, in my opinion, like someone walking up to someone else and saying, well, you wear Levi jeans. Like, I don't like you because you wear Levi's and I wear Wranglers, kind of thing. It's just like, it's a ridiculous thing. Like, we're both wearing pants, so what's it matter?
Yeah, I know it. Like the whole. It's like it goes back. Yeah, the Ford versus Chevy deal. Like that's something mechanics fight over, and mechanics are dumb. So, yeah, like, yeah, like that like the Ford doesn't have a mind of its own. The Chevy doesn't have a mind of its own. But we're out here. We're conquering an 800 to 1200, even bigger pound animal, so that we can move it around and push a bunch of other 800 to 1500 pound animals around. Like we're dealing with animals, and yeah, so like who cares about what you like? Can you get the job done? That's the ultimate goal. Like that's
Right.
that's where the rivalry should go is like the people that can't get the job done, push them out because we don't need them. That's going to get somebody hurt or killed.
Right. It's just
And
like we're willing to get up at 3 a.m. and go out and trot out before daybreak and find cows, bring them in, do whatever the job needs to be done. As long as it gets done, it gets hurt, doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's the same way as like versus like the like the feedlot guy versus the outside guy. Like, yeah, is the feedlot as glamorous and as like no, but I guarantee you motherfuckers are going to be in the pickup when I'm out riding pins when it's the 10 below, and like you guys are going to try to do everything you can to not get out of a pickup, and I hats off to you. That's the smart thing to do,
Right.
but yeah. So, but you're not talking shit now. So it's like what. Just realize everybody's got their own little part in this world, and it takes everything to make what we do awesome. And so rather than fighting each other, like got to have kind of a united front against the rest of the world that seems to hate us, even though they like what we do.
Right.
It's weird. It's weird. Like they hate us and they love us all at the same time, and like you just like you don't even know which way to turn.
Right.
But I don't know. It's what are you gonna do? Just punch cows. That's that's all you can do.
Yeah.
It's it's a crazy deal. So what got you into the Mustang type deal?
That was completely by accident. When my husband and I moved to Eastern Oregon here, we had one horse to cowboy off of because we were packing in California and all the stocks provided. And in order to go to California, we sold the horses that we had to afford to go to California to pack. And all except one 22-year-old Hancock bred mare. And so all we had when we got here to Eastern Oregon was one old horse. And we couldn't afford, that's when horse prices really started going up. And so we couldn't afford to buy, an unstarted 2-year-old for $6,000. And so I was kind of looking around trying to see if there's any sort of projects, cheap projects and stuff. But even cheap grade project horses were running $12. And to buy 5 of those, you're going into debt, especially on cowboys' wages. And so I found out about adopting Halterbrook Mustangs for $125 a piece. And I'm like, hey, those will get us through, And then they turned out to be, we were riding some pretty rough country up in the Malheur National Forest, pretty steep, timbery country, rocky. And they're pretty sure-footed. They're easy to start. They never really buck hard, And I mean, you could get one that's halter broke and have it started under saddle within a week or two, going to work within 2 or 3 weeks, and for $125. And so it was all completely by accident because I just was like, hey, that's a cheap horse. I don't care what it is. It's in my budget. That's just how I got into it. And I just kind of fell in love with it because still, I mean, they're cheap horses and, you can turn them into something if you really want to, or, I found out really quick too, that you use a Mustang on a ranch for a year and get them really good and broke, that them crazy Mustang girls will pay a lot of money for a really broke Mustang.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's always been kind of the bane of the cowboy's existence, is trying to make enough money so that you can keep cowboying. Because the cowboying itself don't pay shit, so you gotta make money on the side so you can keep doing it. And riding outside horses and trading horses, that's where it all started. And then of course, guys get into the leather work, get into the silver work, and then it's always trying to find that little side deal that you can do at night it's basically I mean it's a heroin addiction without the heroin.
Yeah.
You just you'll do a lot of stupid shit so that you can not have to get a job in town.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those Mustangs, I mean, they paid for a lot of stuff. I mean, and then also I breed pugs now too. So that's bought my husband a brand new custom saddle and some spade bits, and the next litter is going to be going to my brand new custom saddle. And
there you go.
Side stuff like that. I mean, super easy. And those Mustangs, like I said, like I've gotten a few cowboy friends that I know that are starting to get into it too, because I've told them, I mean, I've sold some god awful, ugly looking Mustangs that are, I mean, within a year, they are broke. I mean, I had a 5-year-old that I sold. I mean, she had a big old nasty head on her, skinny little legs, and she was about as wide as a 2x4, and sold her for like $7,000 because yeah. And I only paid $25 for her.
Huh. There you go. That's a hell of a ROI.
Yeah. And I keep telling people, like, yeah, you may not, you may get some shit for riding them and coming out and going to a Brandon on a Mustang or whatever and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, some of those ladies will pay a pretty penny for a Mustang, no matter how ugly it is. That brand on its neck means a lot to them.
Huh. Weird.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but yeah, like now I've rode. Yeah, if you truly just cowboy for a living, like that's what you do, you're gonna ride some shit, whether it's your own or the company owned or whatever. You're gonna ride some shit, and I don't know. But you got to have one. So like, even if you don't like them, like you got to get a job done. So
yeah.
Taking a beating on a reservation shitter is better than, I guess sitting in a cubicle. So like you get it done. Yeah, like you figure it out. And I don't know. One good thing about the economy being on very shaky grounds is the bottom is about to fall right out of the horse market, and I can't wait for that, because I would like to get back to some regular old like reject cutter projects that I can buy for a reasonable amount. I remember the days when you could buy those, especially when back home in eastern Colorado. We were close enough to Stephenville where you could get some of those reject cutters for about $1,500 all day long.
Yeah.
And shit, you can't touch one of those for less than $5 nowadays.
I had a friend of mine. She's been looking for a horse for a month or so now, and she can't find anything under $9,000 that's broke. anything like even like 9,000 is the lowest for horses with, that have foundered and that have soundness issues and stuff like that, because they're broke the ride. And if they have papers, that's another $3,000 on top of it. And like the horse industry right now is absolutely insane. Like the pricing on everything.
Oh, it's awful. Like I've got a Mustang that I know I could probably get. I don't know, especially if I wanted to play dirty and give her a little ace or something beforehand, because she tends to kind of run through a bit. But like if there was one of those crazy Mustang ladies that could actually ride a little bit, they'd get along with her just fine, and I could sell her for quite a while. But I can't afford to replace her at the moment, and so like I don't even particularly like her, but like I don't know. Like I said, I can't afford to replace her. Even if I did make a pile of money on her, I paid like $300 for her. For what I could sell her for now, I can't buy something even close to comparable to what she is right now for what I can sell her for. So I just keep riding her, I guess. I mean, it's a hell of a quandary, but like I said, I think that's about gonna fall out anymore.
Yeah, you'd be amazed at what some of these people pay for Mustangs. Like sometimes I'll check in on those internet auctions for these untouched Mustangs, and there was one that sold last year for $8,000. It was a 13-year-old horse that was a Pinot, and sold for $5,000. And I'm like, I wouldn't pay that for a 13-year-old broke horse. Like,
yeah, like that'd have to be, man, the horse that would have to be for me to pay that.
Yeah,
is insane.
the most
I don't
I've
know.
ever on a horse is $2,000, and the only reason why, I mean, he was worth more than that, but my husband braided a Riata and we traded a pug puppy on top of it. But other than that horse, I've never broke spending more than $300 on a horse before, because I'm always like, oh, I'll just get the rejects and stuff like that. And then when the horse market went up, I got into Mustangs instead, because they're dirt cheap and you can turn them into something.
Yeah, it's I don't know, that horse market's it's pretty finicky, but that feed bill's gonna be the first thing to go when shit hits the fan. So like there's fixing to be a lot of cheap horses.
Yeah.
I think the last time that happened, I mean, yeah, you could, like, they were just about giving horses. I mean, oh wait, I mean, I worked at one of those wild horse feedlots there in Fallon, Nevada.
Yeah.
And there were branded horses out there in that feedlot. That was just people that couldn't afford a feed bill anymore, so they just turned them out on the desert.
Yeah.
I mean, and like freeze branded horses, not on the neck. I mean, these were actual ranch brands.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just like, but then they were like over the age of 6, so they wouldn't adopt them. And I was like,
yeah,
I could have me a whole new string right here for about $1,000.
Yeah.
And like probably not have to do a whole lot, like a couple hard days of reminding them that they're not an actual Mustang, and then from there, like you could have had a good string of using horses for about $1,000 in a month's worth of time.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't adopt them because they're over the age of 6.
Yeah.
It's stupid. But I mean, what else do you expect from the federal government?
Yeah. That's just about right.
Yeah. Does it make sense? Well, okay, then we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Is it quick and efficient? No, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, no. Will it make my buddy a bunch of money? All right, let's do that for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild, but so what's your what do you guys got going on in the future? What's your dreams and aspirations from here?
Uh, well, ideally, Jeff and I would love to just, end up being that old couple that braids rawhide and does leather work and silver work and then just retires off of that and day working and stuff like that. But, that's probably every cowboy's dream. But, we really don't have too much of a long-term plan. I would really like to do getting horses, not necessarily training outside horses too much. I would do a select amount of people training outside horses. But I would like to just get horses and train them and sell them and do that full time and day work on top of that. Like, that's just what I want to do, and possibly go and put on some clinics for people and doing stuff like that. That's what I really want to do. For my husband, he just sees himself cowboying for the rest of his life, possibly getting our own place at some point in time. But, with the market the way it is now, that's not going to be until, we're probably
it's a good time to be taking care of somebody else's cattle.
It really is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I've looked into that many a time, and I'm not one to just like pencil stuff out a whole lot, but when you're looking at buying land and buying cows, and you actually have to pencil that shit out, it just don't pencil out.
No.
And so like I've found a gig here that kind of lets me do my job, and with very little I won't say very little oversight, but very little micromanaging. And then it allows me to do actual cowboy shit on the side every now and then allows me to talk to people like you, and like I'm good with that. I just soon not own cows right now. Like
yeah.
I'll I'll try to make enough money on my own so I can make myself as cheap as I can to the ranchers that I want to help, and not, but also not have to worry about it if I don't want to go work cowboy shit for a day. If I want to go, stay inside and research for a new podcast. But like, I do anything I can to like, I just, it's not like, hats off to everybody still trying it, but like, man, if you're trying to break into the ranching world, you got to have some deep pockets and a hell of a lot of luck. And if you don't have both of them, and it just don't, that stuff don't pencil out.
No.
And it's a sad state of affairs, but that's true.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. I mean, the cattle ranchers now, like, family run operations that are just smaller operations, aren't doing very good right now, just because it's just, they're not coming out on top at all. Because, that'd be a pretty big operation to even come out a little bit on top at this point in time.
Yeah. No, I think there was a glimmer of hope during the pandemic when people ran out of beef and they started calling a rancher.
Yeah.
And but I don't think we did enough to capitalize on that. There's like that was a big opening, and it's still there. I mean, like, we're with this like they've been talking about food shortages in your like kind of big corporate media for the last couple of weeks now. So that means like they've known it for a while that food shortages are coming, and I've noticed it at the Mexican restaurant here in town. Like, there's a lot of times they don't have carne asada on the menu anymore.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just I don't think the shelves are gonna be bare, but you're gonna notice like inconveniences like that.
Yeah.
And it's dumb because like the valley that I live in, everybody outside of the retirees, just about everybody is some way connected to beef.
Right.
And the Mexican restaurant in town doesn't have carne asada on the menu because their supplier didn't get it. And so like there's a big disconnect there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's crazy to me that there's a I don't know. There's a big opportunity there. I just don't know how somebody capitalizes on that.
Yeah.
And like well, like us as a industry kind of capitalizes on that because there's a big opening. I just don't know. Like I said, I don't know exactly how you go about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's crazy. I've often wondered about kind of folks like you and me. Like I grew up a little bit in in the ranching world, but like my dad ran. I don't know if he ever ran more than 50 head of cattle, but like he day worked, and we had all told we had a couple thousand acres maybe at the most when he was leasing some ground. And like, but there's just not enough for me to go back to. And I've got a big family with a bunch of siblings, so like once you start breaking that down, like there's not much to go back to, and then
Right.
trying to get started somewhere else from nothing. I mean, it just I don't know. Like I said it's a good time to take care of somebody else's cows. Like
Exactly.
that's about the long and short of it. And I hate as much as I'm always trying to work for myself. Mostly I don't like being told what to do. So
Yeah.
it's not so much that I'm so much an entrepreneur. I just don't like people telling me what to do.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I'm a good businessman. I just I don't like being told what to do. And yeah, I still like break it down and just like, what the hell these cats. Yeah, I'll take care of everybody else's stuff.
Yeah. And it's like, a couple of weeks ago, I went to the store and Jeff and I we hadn't had a chance to go to the ranch and get some beef yet. So I went to buy some steaks at the store and I'm like, you know what? Not a good time to buy steaks. I'll wait until we can run up to the ranch and get some from the freezer.
Yeah, no kidding. It's wild. Like I butchered 2 beef this year, and that second one turned out really. I mean, the first one was really good. Second one was even better, but mostly because I had to hold on to him for a while because like the guy that was butchering them for me, it was renting his space from somebody else, and we've kind of got like the urban sprawl from the Reno area kind of coming this way. And well, the people that owned his little spot where he had his butcher shop sold, and he's like, "Hey, I can't take your beef." So I had to keep him for like another 60 days. And then like you try to sell a whole beef, and even with today's market, like it's harder than you think, just because nobody has any freezer space.
Yeah.
And and then like when you're trying to sell it, 10 pounds at a time, that's fine. I can get that done, but I don't need people snooping in on me too. And
Yeah.
and you also kind of got to make sure that people are cool, because if by chance there's some blood that drips on the some packaging while you're waiting for it to freeze solid, you gotta have people that know that there's nothing wrong with that meat. And
Yeah.
and so it's not something you can take to the farmer's market and sell.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, it's a whole thing when you come down to it. It's like it's a lot tougher than you think.
It is. It really is, because you're going to get every end of the spectrum of different types of people trying to buy from you, and you don't know what. I mean, they could get, one little piece of meat that doesn't look right, and they're going to freak out on you.
Yeah, and a rancher is really good at making that meat, but they're horrible at talking to the people that consume it.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm better than your average rancher at doing stuff like that. But I still, there's a reason I don't work with people.
Yeah.
The Cowboys always kind of been on the fringe of society, even though Hollywood loves them until they meet them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a crazy life, but I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's been a fun conversation, Sarah. I enjoyed it. Well, I guess tell everybody where they can find all your stuff on all the social medias, and how to get a hold of you if they got any questions and whatnot.
The best way to probably actually get a hold of me is to find my Facebook page under High Desert Horsemanship. That's the best way to send me a message. If they want to get a hold of me and ask me questions. Of course, I'm on TikTok as the Rare Buckaroo. Same handle for my Instagram. If someone wants to message me on there, they can look me up on Facebook, Sara Jean Wedel, stuff like that. Whatever, I mean, if you can Google my name and you're going to find me at this point in time. Whatever suits your fancy on getting a hold of me. So, yeah, and sometimes it takes me a while to message people back because just like you said, sometimes I just can't handle talking to people some nights. And so I just leave them on red until I remember to reply to them a few days later. So,
yeah, I try not to leave anybody on red. Like if I don't want to talk, I try to not open that until, because otherwise I'll lose it. I'm not trying to sound like a big shot. It just, like every time somebody likes your story, you get a message in Instagram, and then you got to scroll away. I don't know. I shit gets lost if I don't. So like I'm in the same boat. It's I don't know. It's a weird quandary being a cowboy in the world of Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
Because there's people that they're reaching out to me because they listen to the show, and I want people to do that, but at the same time, like, I still got a job to do, and and a family to take care of, and a family to spend time with, and I try to be as timely as I can, but it's also there's also a life outside of social media. As much as I like it, there's also the real world. Yeah,
exactly.
So it's weird trying to find a balance between the two, but anything else you got before we go?
Not that I can think of. I mean, we covered a lot of stuff on this with this conversation, so I'm pretty happy.
That's good. I really enjoyed it. I like talking to people in general, but the people I like talking to the most are people that kind of do what I do. So
exactly.
I don't have to know you from anybody, but I know that you take care of cows a horseback. We'll find a conversation there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, if you'll hang around a few more minutes, but everybody else, thanks for tuning in, and move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright, hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. Well, life is just a gather, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight.
Happy Easter.